Welcome to the podcast. This is Jazz. I am joined with Molly. You might know her as Bounce Bark Hike on multiple socials, or That Bearded Collie Lady, who everyone seems to think your dogs are doodles for some reason.
It's the automatic assumption, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I am very excited to have you on, mostly because it means I just get to hang out with all of my remote friends for a couple hours.
I've never done a podcast, so hopefully I don't mess this up.
Nah, there's no such thing unless we just sit here and stare at each other the whole time. For those who are unaware, there is a link that you can fill out if you want to be on the podcast, in which I ask a bunch of questions so that I at least have like some jumping off points. And I want to get into your like who are you? What is your background in dog sports and dogs?
Yeah, I am so I have bearded collies and really never didn't grow up in dogs at all. My parents had dogs, but they lived in the backyard, that kind of thing. And then my mid 20s was looking for a dog with my ex-husband, and we decided we were going to get a bearded collie. I had never met a bearded collie. But I said that, I see like they're really good at agility and I would like to do agility. So I told the breeders I talked to, I'm looking for a dog. I'd like to do agility. And the breeder I ended up with said, would you be willing to show this dog also? And I was like, sure. I mean, honestly, like I want a puppy so much, I'm willing to try anything. Right.
Right.
And so I just kind of was like, I'm going to try all the things. And I had a co-owner who was very supportive and helpful, who was the stud dog owner for my dog, and was like, you really need to train that dog because he was a crazy puppy. As he was a normal puppy, but she's like, you need to take that dog to obedience class. And so we started doing a little bit of obedience too while he grew up. And I did a little bit of showing, and then he kind of went totally naked, as puppies and coat change do. So we focused more on the agility stuff, and that kind of sucked me in. I always say, honestly, though, like his CGC test was like the gateway title, because I worked so hard for that. And I laugh because my husband now, I met him in that class. But he did no work at all, like no effort with his dog, who was a St. Bernard and like the easiest dog on the planet. And I went out every day and trained and everything. And I got that very first title. And I was like, this is awesome. And I want to do more. And so that was what totally got me hooked. But really, like I started in agility and I put an agility championship on that dog. And I did eventually show him and put a conformation championship on. And he's the very first dog I did rally with also, because I think rally was maybe just introduced then. But yeah, I've kind of, after that, continued to add dogs and continue to try new sports, and apparently continued to lose any sense of embarrassment when it comes to messing up or trying new things, even if I'm terrible at them.
I love that. I need to get better at that, to be honest, because I'm still way too aware of people perceiving me.
I joke with my friend though that, like, I'm willing to just wing it in a lot of ways. Yes, I'll go read the rule book or whatever, but um, it's hard. We're such busy lives and everything else, and there's only so many things you can give all the training time and effort to. Yeah, the
Yeah,
puppy's squeaking the toy back there. Sorry.
it's fine.
But there's only so many things you can go like super deep into with limited time and money and multiple dogs as well. And so there's other things I want to dabble in, and I have dabbled in a lot of things. But I don't mind. I don't mind just winging it and seeing what happens. And sometimes we're successful, and sometimes we're not. But I'm out there having fun with my dog, right?
I love that so much. So we did get a little bit of a guest appearance there from Delilah. How is the puppy?
She's good. She's just running around squeaking her toys right now because everyone else is crated. Um, she's a very happy puppy because she's been fed her dinner now. So um, she's good. I've had to travel for work, and I have to go on another business trip tomorrow. And
Goodness.
I hate it. I don't haven't had to travel at all, but suddenly it's all bunching at once. And I hate it because I feel like we get disconnected on even just a few days apart, which is silly because we're really not. Like they're fine when I get back, obviously, but like I feel like I'm disconnected from her, and it's probably more that she's becoming an adolescent. Like she's turning 7 months old this week, and so we're getting the
Oh my
adolescent
goodness.
attention span, and there's other things in the world besides mom, and so we're going with the flow, staying consistent on training and everything else, and I know it'll all come back. But yeah, right now we're deep in the throes of adolescent brain.
Oh,
It's
joy. I recently got a third dog, and I thought he was a year younger than my two. Turns out he's a month older,
oh wow,
and I don't know if I will ever actually get a puppy again because it's
yeah,
kind of nice being handed like a performance dog and being like, "All right, go do stuff with him. He knows
yeah.
all the basics."
I mean, I love like that first stretch of puppy training for sure. Like I love raising puppies too. I really find that part enjoyable. Once you get past the
That's a
worry about
skill.
their survival, once you're not worried about survival anymore, and it's like exposing them to the world. I really enjoy that, and I really enjoy puppy sponges and teaching them so many things. But it has been 5+ years since I had an adolescent, so I'm getting that little reminder of like this is what teenagers are like, and it's going to be a while until we get our brains back together.
When do bearded collies kind of grow up, more or less?
Um, there's spurts, right? So I remember I remember with multiple dogs at about a year old going, "Oh, wow, like we're seeing some maturity in things," right? And then at 2, um, 3 maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe 3. I mean, I would say 3 is like when we start calling them physically mature because but yeah, they're slow maturers mentally too. They're not dogs that are there are people that do go out and work seriously from a very young age with them, but that hasn't been my experience. I'd rather give my dogs time to just grow up and learn who they are and figure our relationship out. Yeah, 2 or 3. So I have a
Fair.
while.
You're just getting started.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh joy. I look forward to all the TikToks.
Oh God. I think I've already complained about, not complained, but just kind of said some days you just feel like you're doing the best you can, right? And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that puppy teenager, whatever she is, needs extra outings, but then everyone else still needs their exercise, their stuff, their classes or whatever. But I also have to prioritize, like she's in an age where she needs a little bit more, so we need to do extra things, and yeah.
That's so fun though. So I know I got you into a sport that I'll talk about later. Um, of all the sports you've done, because I think you have done all of them at some point, which ones are your favorites?
So I haven't done everything because obviously with herding breeds, I haven't touched, the other group specific activities, right? Like earth dog or hunt tests or anything like
Okay,
that. But
everything available to you.
the biggies and not at the highest level for everything, but like I said, I've dabbled in a lot. It really depends because I try to go with like what each dog really loves too. But I do really love herding. I think it's the hardest thing by far because you're using a living creature with its own thoughts and ideas to control other living things with their own thoughts and ideas. So you're totally not in control of what any of those things want to do, and you're trying to manage it all, right? Herding, I think, is the most complicated in that sense, but I do love it. And I haven't been able to do a lot of it for a few years with life and job changes and everything else. But I hope to get back to it with Delilah. She just had a instinct test this weekend and
Mhm.
like flying happy, what am I saying?
Yay!
Sailed right through it. Like she was great. So I was like, I would
I
love to get
love
back to
that.
herding. So herding is one of my favorites. I really, really loved agility, and that was like my first sport. And I haven't had an agility dog in a long time because we didn't have any place to train near us, and we do now. So I'm hoping to get back to agility. But I love agility. I think that's super fun. There's so many different venues, so you can kind of take it as seriously or not seriously as you want, but also like different types of course types and what you like in agility and the kind of the people you like hanging with in agility because they're all a little bit of a different crowd
Hmm.
too. Um, what else? I love canicross because I like to run and I have a dog that likes to run, but I know we'll talk about that more later too. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think those are kind of my favorites in a lot of ways. Obedience was still one of those ones that was like a mental hurdle to get over in terms of just fear of that. Rally was a great sort of beginner way to get into that when it first came out. Rally's
Hmm.
obviously gotten a lot more serious and more difficult since then. You can definitely go into really hard places with it now that you couldn't before. And so people take it a lot more seriously than when it used to just be like, let's do this fun thing that isn't quite obedience. But like I have at least one dog who just loves rally. It's her favorite thing to be as close to me as she can. And so that's fun
I'm
because
gonna
people do
guess
that.
that that one is Astrid?
It's Maeve.
Dang it.
Maeve loves like being right there at my side more than anybody else. Astrid was my brilliant herding dog. She was the one I
Okay.
got super serious with herding with. So, um, yeah, like I said, everybody's got a little bit of their thing too. And, at the same time, I know I'm listing all the sports, but like scent work is fabulous because the dogs get to do this kind of almost entirely independently of you and use their, God-given features, if you want to call them that, like, but they're natural skills to do something that's very rewarding to them, and we're just along for the ride. And so that I think is super enjoyable as well. And it's really fun. When I traveled a couple weeks ago, my friend who came and stayed and watched my dogs is a certified nose work instructor, and so she just started hiding the puppy's lunch and having her search for it. And she was like, "She's this completely brilliant nose work dog. Like she's so good at this for her age." So now I keep hiding her lunch every day. Um,
Hey, that's a
but
good way to get energy out.
yeah, but just seeing even a puppy figure out how fast she can, search for food and search for other things, and I watch her nose go, and I love that. I love seeing when they're in odor, and they're really driven to do it. I think it's so interesting, and it's obviously like something that comes so naturally to them.
That's I do love scent work as well, but we do more of the rat hunting version of it. You also listed barn hunt and pet therapy. I didn't know you did pet therapy.
I did that a long time. Did I list that? I did that with like my first dog a long time ago. We
No,
used
I'm
to go
reading the
to.
wrong person's thing.
Oh, it's okay. I did do it with my first
Oh,
dog
that's
a long
fantastic.
time ago. But it's been like 20 years.
You're like, how did
Um,
you know that?
and that was, you know what? The funny part is like that was a really interesting one for me because it was so much more about like basically, at least where I was going, which was a rehab hospital, it was so much more about like people just wanted somebody to talk to. So like, okay, you walk in with a dog, they're like, nice dog, but they just wanted to sit and talk. So it was a
Oh.
nice opportunity for that for people with at least the place I was assigned. I've done barn hunt, but did not have great training opportunities near me. So barn hunt was entirely a winging it thing where like somebody was in town to set up for a trial and they would do lessons the day before and I would like
Hmm.
blitz lesson everybody and then just enter the trial and see how we did. So probably we would enjoy it more like if we trained it. One of Maeve's daughters lives with the people who have like the top barn hunt beardies, like the highest, some of the highest titles, I think, even in barn hunt, because they've done it since the beginning. Um,
I might
and
have
so
met
they
them
take it
without
very
realizing it.
seriously. Sorry?
I think I might have met her without realizing it
Oh, maybe.
because, like, we live in the town that hosts nationals,
Okay.
and there's not a whole lot of bearded collies.
Right. Right. I don't know if they've gone every time. I know they didn't go this year. They might have gone last year. Um,
I didn't make it out this year, but I did make
okay.
it out last year. I think
Oh,
I
I
might
think
have
they were,
seen them from a distance, but that was a long time ago, so I don't have a full
yeah.
memory.
Hey, enough. Delilah is entertaining herself by barking at Astrid, who's stuck in a crate. Um, those two are like peas in a pod. They really are. They just drive each other bonkers. Yeah, I don't know. Like I've dabbled in, like I said, a
Almost
fair number of
everything.
these at this point. I'm a title whore, okay? Like it's fun if I can,
It's
the fit dog
I
stuff
mean
came
to
out. I was like, well, we already lock. I can track that. I can, you mentioned one of these things to me, and I'm like, let's go see. The fetch thing came out. I was like, well, my dogs are rabid retrievers. Let's go do that. It's just money, right?
what's it for if it's not to have fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna open up the can of worms that is Canny Cross.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at with that? Like, what titles have you gotten?
So right before we had puppies this spring, Sorsha finished her championship bronze, um, which was what is
Congrats.
it? 50. She's so beyond whatever the required miles
It's
are, so I
like the
can't even remember.
50 lifetime
50, yeah,
miles,
she's like 280
five,
something right now. But it's like yeah, what is
like
it?
five
Five
races,
five
five,
5Ks and three 10Ks. Does that sound right?
that sounds
Um,
close.
Yeah, so we did the last 10K we needed and got her championship bronze. So obviously had puppies, did not run at all, then was like trying to get back to life. So I've been trying to just barely get back to both of us getting in shape this fall. Obviously, like she's already in great shape, but I still want to ease her back into distance. So we have not done any racing, but they had a couple virtual events, so we've technically gotten some virtual races out of that. Um, so
Oh, I gotta submit my bingo card. I
I
just
think
realized.
she needs another 10K and a half marathon for her championship silver. But I'm clearly just not in a rush to be in hot pursuit of that because I have run. I used to run and do triathlons as well at like major distance, all the highest distances you can do them at essentially. Um, Somewhere, my first dog is the reason I started running. The joke was I said I started running because I couldn't keep up with him in agility, and then I just got hooked on running. um, but most of the time now if I want to take all my dogs out, I want to go hike, so I do more hiking than I do running. But Sorsha really loves running, so we do the canicross thing, and some of it's walks, some of it's hikes, some of it's runs. That's what I love
Yeah,
about North American
it all
canicross, is
counts.
that any speed counts. You don't have to be a runner. You just have to be on an unpaved surface with the correct equipment for your dog, and it counts. And it's great because it means like I can walk somebody else along, or I put her mom also in a harness and hook her up so that the two of them are out for a walk or whatever. And I only track Sorsha's mileage, but at some point we'll find a few races again. I'm just not like in this crazy rush to chase the next level title down that I was before, again, because I have to be in shape to try to at least do 13 miles with her.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at the titles, and I looked at Merle, and I was like, "Hey, bud, we're gonna do a few half marathons. It looks like."
There you go.
So, so the bronze is 3 qualifying races of at least 10K
Okay.
and a maximum of 13 miles.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, you've got your 5 10Ks. So no, I was saying there were 5Ks, and
Okay. Yeah, I
then
have
one
five
half
Ks,
and
and I think we have
or
four
half
10Ks
marathon.
right now. Yeah. So yeah, we need a little bit more. But again,
That's
not in a
crazy.
super rush. The weather is just barely cooling off where I'm at for the winter, so it'll be a little more enjoyable, a little easier.
That's awesome. Getting back to whatever you're doing after puppies, what are you looking forward most to?
Um, so I have obviously done well. If you anybody who follows me, I've done a little bit of a blitz post puppies where I was like, "Yay, they're gone! Let's enter everything," because clearly I should just spend all my money. Clearly, this is a theme, right? I mean, dog sports are expensive,
They
so
really are.
definitely like jumped right into some shows. Jumped into doing rally with Maeve again because I promised her when it was done, when puppies were done, she'd get to go back to rally. I've entered a few scent work trials. I am right now trying to finish Maeve's overall scent work novice title. I did like a couple titles like a year and a half ago just to
Mm-hmm.
get her. I think she needed that for like a versatility award or something. Um, and so we're just back to trialing a little bit to try to finish that. Um, I am trying to finish Sorsha's elite titles, I think, at the advanced level. She's she's already competed at the excellent level, but because we
Mm-hmm.
were off for a year and a half, I was like, let's just go back to advanced and get some trial
Yeah.
experience back under our belts. So we're doing a little bit of that. I'm showing the puppy a little bit. She's as we're going into this teenage phase, I'm pretty sure she's working on coming to season, and so she's decided that
Oh,
judges'
goodness.
exams are optional. As they do. And I mean, we really haven't done a lot of classes or training or whatnot. So we'll get there, but that's not really a rush. I am throwing Sorsha back in the show ring occasionally, and we haven't done that really in this year at all. Um,
Wow.
I think just getting back to consistent training obviously has been really nice, and sort of building this puppy's repertoire of foundations for all the sports, because it's too soon obviously to figure out like what she likes, loves, or anything else, and she's certainly not ready to do any of the things, but I'm excited to and enjoying just building the foundation of doing lots of stuff. And so
Yeah.
we're going to like CGC prep classes, and we went to a tricks class this week that ended up being super entertaining. It was titled Tricks and Teamwork, and it was something about doing tricks with the context of being around other people and other dogs. And that was the only explanation. And we ended up teaching all of these new tricks. Delilah was picking them all up just like so fast, but doing them like we started all lined up on platforms with these other teams,
Mhm.
and then we all did them in unison together, like down and back, all the tricks, and it was recorded on a video. And I guess they're going to put it to music and put it out at some point. But so
That's
all
fun.
this new stuff with all these other like groups around us, and then
That's
doing it all at the
amazing.
same time. Yeah, it was so much fun because I mean, she has a hand touch, but we taught like tell me a secret, right? Like so she would hand touch
Yeah.
that, and then it was like a nose touch to a dot on the floor, a sit or a down within a hoop, another nose touch, a leg weave, which I had never taught her before, going around a barrel, and then like repeating the whole thing coming back to the platform. And we also like did this sort of healing marching pattern around the room. But it was like I had no idea what to expect. I was just like, I want to check out this new training place that I haven't been to, and it was so much fun. And it was just something different and super challenging for her to learn these new things, learn them in the context, and get to do them in the context of around all the other people. And it was really fun. So I like just challenges like that right now of things that we can do to try something different, and continue to expand her little pea brain.
That that class sounds like a blast.
It was fun. It was
I
just a one-off, one-time thing, but it
okay.
was super fun. And I'm still waiting for the video to come out because I hope it's going to be super cute.
I'm totally gonna have to share it because
Yeah.
that just sounds adorable. So hiking,
Yes.
because I hear hiking, and I learned there are different levels to hiking.
Yeah.
What level would you say you are?
Um, I've done a lot of hiking. When I Before I moved to Colorado, we did more backpacking because we didn't live near the mountains. So if we were going to go to the mountains, we were going backpacking for a weekend. And then I moved to Colorado 12 years, a little over 12 years ago. And there's obviously trails everywhere. And so I started learning kind of how to hike, and then how to hike with my dogs, and then how to hike increasing distances with my dogs, and what I needed to bring to be prepared and everything. And so I do less backpacking and more hiking just because everything is so close. I mean, worst case is I'm also somebody who's willing to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and drive 2 hours or 3 hours to be at some like remote mountain trailhead that's amazing. And I don't have to run into people with my dogs. And I can see something gorgeous or get an early start before it gets hot or whatever else. But I personally have done at the longest a 27-mile day hike, over two passes with about 12,000 feet of climbing. I think it's this loop that I live near that's just absolutely stunning in a wilderness area. Did not take a dog for that because I was like, I just need to worry about me not breaking for this thing. Um, well, my dogs have been backpacking. My dogs have done some pretty good long hiking. I usually wait till they're closer to two and we do the health testing before we do anything super long. And then that kind of opens up the over 10K more into like the 10 to 15-mile day hike kind of range. Those take a little bit more planning, obviously, both just getting there, getting started early with the heat, carrying enough food, water, everything else for everybody. Though in the Rockies, we do have a lot of water as well. So I don't usually have to think about that as much caring for the dogs necessarily. But um, then, I mean, just being able to pop out and do 2 to 4 miles anytime is easy for me. In the summer, it gets light so early for us that we can do it. I could do stuffing on a work morning. Um, and then where I'm in Arizona during the winter time. There's still hiking pretty close by, like a little 5K loop, in the buttes. That's really desert scenery and stuff. That's pretty safe to take dogs to as well. And so I do that a fair bit. But we do quite a bit, and I think it's always interesting to see dogs in different areas and how people tackle the hiking, right? Like you certainly down here, you certainly have to bring a lot more water for your dogs most of the time because it's desert scenery. I don't have to think about that quite as much in some of the mountain because I'll tend to do rivers, streams, lakes, that kind of thing in Colorado.
Right.
But everything, and you think about this canicross too, right? Like their feet, and whether their feet are tender or they're kind of toughened up to terrain. And because we hike a lot of like these sort of granite slabs and rocky trails and stuff at home, my dogs do tend to have pretty tough feet for conditions.
Yeah.
But then you can't just go something like that without ever sort of prepping their feet for
Oh
it,
no.
without tearing a bunch of hot pads. Or the one I learned is if they're spending a lot of time in water and then they get out and they run on granite slabs. And I found that more in the Sierras in California, they
Ooh,
tear hot pads. So then you're
I wouldn't
packing
even have
boots,
thought about that.
packing boots so they can make it out okay and stuff like that. So I mean, you throw dogs into, I mean, hiking I love anyway. And again, I had to learn all how to do that. This was not something I grew up doing. We were not outdoorsy people by any means. And then the first time I started going on trails by myself with my dogs, I was terrified. There was a mountain lion around every corner, or I was going to do a bear or something else. So I did so much research before every trail to know, what to expect, what was safe, what was going to be around this turn, what somebody saw 3 weeks ago on the trail, like if they spotted something. But then with dogs, just adding the preparation factor, I think makes a difference.
So when you're doing those super long hikes, you mentioned carrying food not just for you but also the dogs. How do
Yes.
you balance? Because you have big dogs, like bearded collies are not small. Is bloat a thing for your breed, or like how do you
Mostly
manage
not.
that?
So I mean, they're medium sized, right? So the girls are my girls, my adult girls are all about 40 pounds.
Oh,
And boys, what I would put in like the 50 to 55 range. So they're
okay. So they're
medium-ish.
about dolly size.
Yeah. In general, I'm sure there's been a case or two, but in general, I don't think we don't worry too much about bloat and beardies. But
Cool.
I'm not necessarily feeding meals while they're running on trails hard. I'm just more like obviously snacks for if they're off leash, snacks for recalls and that kind of thing, but also just a little bit of energy for them when
Yeah.
we're doing the long days. There's so many treat options out there for energy boosts for them and whatnot. And if I'm going to bring a Cliff Bar or something else, I want to have something equivalent for them to
I was gonna say
keep
I'm
their
just
energy
now
up.
starting to get ads for like different brands that do essentially dog Cliff Bars, and I was like, I didn't even know these existed.
They didn't used to. Except for maybe, I'm thinking, and I can't remember if it's the same company that does like the Zook minis or something. They might have like a little bit of more of an energy, like a bar kind of thing. I think I could be wrong on the
Hmm.
brand. And I feel like those were around in our backpacking days in California, like 20 years ago. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, now there's all these like electrolyte add to water things and stuff that it gets a little crazy.
I'm so curious about how all of that works because it's like I'm just now learning this from the human side. I can't imagine how complicated it is for the dogs.
Maybe it's easier for the dogs though, because the human stuff gets for someone who's done distance racing, the human stuff gets crazy.
Yeah, you
My
mentioned you triathlons,
Yeah,
like
so
Ironmans.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she says shyly, like
I
that's not an insane achievement.
I so I ended up running a marathon within like a year of starting running because I'm just stupid like that. I was like, well, maybe I'll do 10K. Like I just did a 5K once and I was so mad I couldn't run. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to run. So by the time was able to run 3 miles, I was already signed up for a half marathon. And I was like, I'm never going to do a marathon. And like after my first half marathon, I immediately signed up for a marathon. So this is my personality right here. Okay.
I
Um,
love it.
and
All
so I ran
gas.
for years. And I mean, I would go to agility trials and run my dog. And then they're in our tent in our setup, outside the rings, and they're crated. And then I would run miles in laps around the fairgrounds, watching the ring. I mean, and this is like a tiny little lap around a fairground, but I would just watch and keep an eye and then go back and run my dog again and then go back and run laps, if that was how I had to get my distance in when I was training.
I love that so
And bear
much.
in mind, I could not swim. I really didn't know how to swim. And when we planned our wedding and got married, we just got married with like the dogs on a beach in a kind of remote town in Northern California with a couple friends. And I was like, because I was so diehard into running at that point, I was like, it'd be really fun to run a race the morning of my wedding. And there was no race because it was this tiny town in the middle of nowhere. But for whatever reason, everything was split. So we were having our reception a couple weeks later back home with friends and family. And I looked again, are there any races I can do that morning? And there was a little sprint triathlon in like the lake that I had grown up near. And I was like, I can learn how to swim like 400 yards by then, right? It's next year. And I can figure out how to ride a mountain bike. And 3 miles I know how to run. So I did a sprint triathlon the morning of our wedding reception, and it was terrible. And I like somehow survived the swim, and then the bike was fine, and the run was great. And I went, I got to figure out how to do more of these. And but I'm never. Maybe I'll do an Olympic distance as my longest one, but I'm never going to do anything longer. Like I'm never doing an Ironman or something. Of course, I think the next year I signed up for a half Ironman. And then I got myself a coach and signed up for an Ironman. So I did 3 Ironmans. Um, I'm not
That's
good. I'm not
amazing.
fast. I'm not fast by any means, but I survived
You
these
don't
and I got
have to be.
progressively
You
better each
did it.
time. It was all about my own personal improvements, and I got better with each
Yeah.
one. And then I was like, I need to go do other stuff, like spend more time with my dogs, because it's like 25 hours of training a week, and I just don't have the time for that. And
Fair.
I was still running agility and campaigning a special at the same time.
Wow.
I think I
Did
was
you
running
sleep?
agility with both. I think I was running agility with both my boys, and I was campaigning Stanley. But I did hand Stanley off to a handler sometimes. Um, so again, sometimes it would be these trials, and my dogs would sit in the crates, and I would get on my bike and go ride 40 miles and come back before their next run. And then it would be like I would go up to wherever the handler was and hand the dog off at the show, and I would go ride like 50 miles or 60 miles or something, and come back and get my dog.
God,
So
that's amazing.
it was an extreme level of multitasking in prioritizing like my dogs and their sports and my pursuit of this stuff. But at some point, there's just not enough time in life, or
Yeah.
your life situation changes, or you go, I want to be able to just have the freedom to do other things and not live by my nutrition plan and what my entire Saturday is sucked up doing.
The amount of planning ability to pull
Yeah.
that off is fascinating, and I'm very envious.
But again, kind of winging it too. Kind of also winging it, because even though, I mean, obviously I took both things very seriously. And we went to classes, for agility all the time, and we were trialing really heavily towards Max's championship and then Stanley's titles. And I had a coach that I paid for my training plans, and I followed them to a T and everything else for my stuff. At the same time, like blending that together sometimes was like, okay, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go run 20 miles before work so that I can take my dog to class after work. Like, I was
That's
younger. Okay.
amazing.
I was younger then. It was,
You say that you were probably the age I am
I
now,
was
or
in my 30s
close to.
then. So,
Yeah, like,
yeah.
you were still older than I am now, and I'm just like, I don't. How? How did you do that?
But I also had a job that was flexible in the sense that I did a lot of it remote, and I didn't have to show up and sit in an office for 8 hours and commute every day. So, but
Yeah,
sometimes I had to show up and I had to do a 20-mile run in the morning before I left for the office. So, yes, apparently
crazy.
I didn't value sleep as much as I do now. Maybe that's it.
I absolutely love everything about that. And also, yeah, you are just like very much I get this idea, I'm gonna do it the absolute best that I can. And I love that.
There is no doubt that I am semi notorious for harebrained ideas that I just decide I'm going to do something and do it. Like I said, Delilah had attended. I entered her in these herding instinct tests the day after Thanksgiving. In the next state over, a minimum of a 5+ hour drive. But I got caught in LA traffic coming back. So it
Oh
was like a
no.
17-hour round trip day to go
Wow.
do this. And I was like, yeah, these people are like, oh, I have a long drive home. It's like 90 minutes. And I was like, I am 6+ hours back to home. And I hit all the holiday traffic. So it took longer.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, you know what else was I going to do with my Friday? I wasn't going to Black Friday shop. So I might as well go do something fun and see if my dog likes sheep.
Which apparently she does.
She did. She did. She did
I
fabulous. I was really proud of her.
I love that. So if she continues with herding, what does that look like?
So I actually went through this when I was there, because my sister and her wife came to visit, and I was trying to explain. They were asking me what was going on in all the rings, and so the herding instinct test is very much just your dog has to demonstrate interest, and there's sort of different things that they rate them on a little bit,
Mhm.
as far as how well they're able to sort of like balance or like listen to direction and that kind of thing. But it's really pass fail. And so the next two levels, like the two official herding titles that go from there, are test level, is what they call them. And there's test level and there's trial level, basically. Now I'm
Okay.
speaking of AKC. So there's other organizations out there, but at the test level, the first level, which is herding tested, essentially, you do have to actually do a little training for, because your dog has to stay while you take the leash off. And then essentially, the dog helps you move the livestock between two cones across the arena. You have to make however many turns you walk back and forth between the cones till the judge says you're done. And then you have to be able to recall your dog off the livestock, which can be, you know what, you can literally like be standing there and put them in a sit and just go come and like reach out and grab the collar. Like you're not expecting at this level necessarily that your dog's going to come from like way far away. But that's kind of it. You leash them back up and you leave. And so you've shown that essentially you have enough control over your dog around the livestock to be safe, and that you are capable of moving livestock through a couple very minor obstacles, which is essentially the cones. Um, and then the next level after that is pre-trial tested PT, which is just a little bit more because your dog has to sit and stay when you take that leash off, and you kind of send them to gather the stock to you. And then you're in a bigger arena and you're walking through a couple like panels, essentially like the panels against the fence. So you've got a couple things that you just walk the livestock through. You go down to the end, you come back, and your dog has to essentially help you hold them at the gate, like show that they can stay at the gate while you put the livestock away. So this is the first time that you're opening a gate and putting them away, which
Okay.
when you think about it in terms of livestock and their tendency to want to go back to safe home base and away from the wolf that's in there with them, right? That's a trouble spot because they can get jammed up at a fence or a gate and it's
Mm.
unsafe. So you're showing again like safe behavior. So that the test levels are mostly showing that you're capable of navigating very basic things in a safe manner. And then you get to the trial level and it gets a lot more complicated in terms of the distance you have to do things and the things that you show you can control them through and that kind of thing. It's fun. It's just really hard. And it's very dependent on, the livestock where you train, where you trial, even different sets of livestock. If the three of them, if it's three sheep, let's say if one of them doesn't want to be with that set, that's not their favorite, like that's not their friends, this is not who I'm normally grouped with, you can have one that just absolutely doesn't want to deal with
Says
it.
go away.
And the dogs, the dogs obviously vary in terms of how much of a distance in a bubble they keep or how up and in the sheep's face they get. And that obviously complicates things or can. There's also livestock that like will push back at dogs. I have worked with goats that try to actually ram a dog,
Yeah, it would
and
be
I like
gross.
body blocked and I got hit. I normally like goats, but some goats are super jerks.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it really depends on what you're working, and there's, I mean, I've worked. Astrid's got the first trial level title, and then I was working towards the next one, and sort of like I lost my first dog, life changed, my job changed, whatever. And I was trying to get her pregnant to have puppies, and so we kind of just had to put the whole herding thing on hold. But um, there's so much to learn, and I think it's just so interesting because it's so different, and there's so many different situations you can see, but it takes a lot of time to understand how to read not just your dog, but you're learning how to read the livestock too. And
Yeah,
that's,
there's a
for
lot
for
into
city
that.
girl, that was a whole new challenge.
So yeah, you didn't grow up. You said you didn't grow up outdoorsy. Like you grew up in city, not
Yeah,
not
I mean
country.
suburbs, but my parents
Okay.
didn't. My parents did not hike, camp, any of that kind of thing. And like I said, we had dogs, but they were mostly kind of backyard or hang out on the couch kind of thing.
How
Yeah,
in the world did you end up being the like super outdoorsy one?
I I have no idea. I mean, just exposure, I guess, and time. And my husband is all of those things. So, I mean, not a dog sports person by any means, but definitely hikes and backpacks and everything else. And so, my first my first backpacking trip, I think we had been together for maybe a year or two, and he was like, "We're not going to go anywhere far because you might be terrible at this." I mean, I had bought all the gear and everything, but he's like, well, "This is going to be like a test run." And my dog and his dog, and it was a terrible, hot, hilly, hot hike, and it was a long hike. And we hiked out there. We had a great weekend. We came back, and we are like within sight of the car, and my bearded collie, who I'm showing and has his full coat and everything else, puts his face in a bush and looks up. Bear in mind, I've never seen these before in my life, even though I've had a dog for at least like a year and a half at this point, covered in ticks. I was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Burn the car down, burn the dog down. I'm
Oh
finished. So my
no.
boyfriend at the time picked all the ticks up, and none of them got into him because he picked them off so fast. He had
Okay.
this white face. So it was great.
You could
But I
just
was
see
like,
all of them.
I was like, no, we're
Oh,
finished right now. Like, I don't do ticks, and I still don't really do ticks.
do ticks
I
suck?
I mostly don't live in places with ticks, or I avoid where the ticks are the time of year when they're there, because they do suck. They're terrible. Um, but I
Just
survived that, so apparently I was okay after that to continue to backpack more seriously.
was gonna say, so you can only come to Missouri in the winter
I know. But
after
even
it's
then, like, I have
frozen.
friends in Manitoba whose dogs are getting bitten when it's 35 below. It's so bad now.
Ew.
Yeah.
Well, that's supposed to be the thing. It gets too cold, they die.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like 1 month near my house, it's like May, where there's ticks, and so I just go, "We're gonna go hike at 10,000 feet because 'cause we're
Yeah,
fine." That's my solution is elevation. "Let's go to
that's
10,000 feet. There's no
amazing.
ticks up here." No ticks, no rattlesnakes.
Yeah, I was avoiding asking you about snakes because I go to bed in a few hours.
Oh, no, I just,
Like,
again, it's another one of those, I don't do those things. I don't go to the places generally where I have to run into
okay,
them because, I don't I'm
don't love
terrified of
them.
having to manage dogs with them. Now that said, when Maeve had her litter in 2022, it was a September litter and it was a warm fall, and we have rattlesnake fenced our yard because
Mm-mm.
they were turning up in our yard a little bit before that.
Mm-mm.
And
Nope.
I got this bright idea while my husband was off doing something away from the house to let all the dogs out in the yard. And she had, I would say, 3-week-old puppies. And like we went out, everybody's running around, and I turn around from something I just walked past, and there's a rattlesnake. So I somehow managed to like swoop up 5 dogs because I knew if Sorsha's like real prey driven. I know if she saw it, she would have just gone for it. So I swoop up everybody, and I'm like, I have this nursing mother with tiny babies inside. I cannot,
God.
but I'm like, I can't let it be loose in my yard because we have stone walls and it'll vanish and then we'll have a rattlesnake in our yard and I won't ever know. It'll just pop up somewhere. So I sat there and I held it off with like a um, pooper scooper until my husband got home. I'm calling him frantically. He's like at the bottom of the driveway doing something with the. He had gotten back, but he wasn't all the way up to the house. And I'm like, I have a rattlesnake. Get up here, right? Because it needs to go back out of the
Oh,
yard.
that's horrible.
He ended up picking it up with the pooper scooper and putting it out of the yard, and then finding where the fencing had bent a little bit. But that's the closest I've come on like worst nightmare kind of thing. I walk a lot and look in the summer and check, but we do check the fence every spring, and obviously
I
multiple times during the summer. But
This is the first I've ever heard of rattlesnake proofing.
yeah,
What does that fencing look like?
so we have a normal fence. It's a split rail fence
Mm-hmm.
with just enough of a mesh. Obviously, the dogs can't go through that split rails. But the rattlesnake fencing is like a very fine mesh. And so you have to go up, I think it's like at least 3 feet off the ground, but then you have to bury it under, right?
Right.
So it's like, and so it's
It's
all
like a
tacked
Jack
along,
Russell fence.
right? So it's tacked in along the fence line, and then it's buried underneath, and we've got like big dirt and big rocks and stuff on top of the bottom. And so the issue is we have 3 gates into the yard. We try not to use them very much, but the gates is where it gets tough because it has to kind of like fold over the gap and stuff,
Right.
right? And so it was like one bent
It's
spot in
definitely
one
the
of the
weak point.
gates. Yeah. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, we didn't have a fence when we moved in this house. Um, we knew we were going to build one, but we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
one initially. It took like a month to schedule or something. During which time I believe Jeff's St. Bernard went chasing a herd of elk on a hot summer night and didn't come back for like an hour. Just took off
Oh,
into the woods chasing a herd of elk, and we were like, "Well,
that's a
there goes the
choice word.
dog." No, we had to run back. We were in like flip flops in our yard. We had to
Yeah.
go back and get like boots because of stuff out in the woods.
Yeah.
And he came back.
Happy
I
as
think
could
he went
be.
up and over the hillside, the ridge to somewhere else, someone else's property probably. But he came back with his tongue down to the floor, like dead tired, happy as could be. Yeah. Anyway, then we got a fence, but and we had no idea. Honestly, we were so stupid. We had no idea we had rattlesnakes.
No.
Because we were kind of new to Colorado, and we were like, well, we're at 6,200 feet. I don't know. We had no idea. And then
I
I
can't
was
say
away for,
anything. I am intentionally ignorant of what we have out here.
yeah, yeah, it's great until like it's in your yard. And I was
Yeah.
out of state breeding Astrid, and he said he opened the door where the dogs go flying out to the yard,
Uh-uh.
and there was one right
Nope.
there, right there.
Nope.
And he just didn't have any of the dogs with him at the time. So I was like, okay, so we have to do something else because I can't be, and I that breeding didn't take, but I was like, we can't have puppies
And
and be worrying
rattlesnakes.
about snakes. Like I can't deal with this. Like I
No.
cannot cope. I will move away. Like we're done here if we can't figure this out. And so my husband went and rattlesnake fenced the entire yard himself in the heat of the summer.
Wow.
He's handy that way.
The win for your husband because absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first snake I saw in this area, it was like we just had the puppy, so we lived in the house for like maybe 3 or 4 months now, and I'm so scared of them that it's comical because it's dumb. And like I had just really gotten to start knowing our neighbors, and I had their phone number, and I'm coming to let the dogs out, and I'm starting to drive up our road. So I'm in a vehicle,
Mhm.
and there's a black snake in the road. Just at the time, I didn't know that black snakes were the good snakes. To me,
Right.
I just don't like snakes. Like
Yeah.
I know they exist. I want them to stay away.
Yeah.
So I just stop because I can't, even in my car, I can't get myself to go near them. And I call my neighbor, and I'm like borderline having a panic attack and tears. And I'm like, there's a snake in the road. Can you come move it? So she just comes out and she just like scoots it and just shepherds it across the road. And I've never seen a snake look so annoyed because it was definitely just sunning itself in the
Right.
middle of the road. And I've never seen it since. And I'm
Good.
just like, beautiful, love you. You're doing a great job at staying in those woods back there where
Right.
I don't have to see you. And then I was like, can you help me let the dogs out? Because I can't get myself to go to the backyard now.
Yeah. No, it's tough when it gets in your head, and I have to, like, you don't wanna get close enough to look, but, like, we also have bull snakes, which are good and territorial and fight off the rattlesnakes, right? And so, like, you don't wanna hurt one of those, but I'm like, I don't wanna get close enough to know, "Thank you very much,"
Right.
which it is, and so, we've seen them outside the yard a few times, and my husband's willing to go check, and he's like, "It's a bull snake, it's fine," or like, "No, I'll go take care of that other one." Um, and you
Love
see
him for
them
that.
sometimes you see them on the road. Like I was coming down the road sometime this summer. We live up this dirt canyon.
Right.
And I was coming down and there was one in the middle of the road. And I'm like, I'm not going to get close enough to look to see which kind it is. But somebody was walking their dog up as I got further down. And I'm like, just FYI, if you're going up there, there's a snake in the middle of the road. So, but there's stories because we might be some of the only people that fence their dogs or keep an eye on them or
Mm-hmm.
anything else. And it's rural where we're at now.
Yeah.
Um, and so there are definitely summers where like a bunch of people have dogs that are bitten by rattlesnakes. And I'm like,
Oh, that's
heck no.
heartbreaking.
Like, heck no, I don't need to hit my insurance deductible that badly. And
Nope.
like, it just terrifies me. And I have a neighbor who hosts the rattlesnake training every
Oh,
summer for the people in town,
mud.
but it is the shot collar training. And I will say that when I was first there, I tried it with one dog, and I just don't want to do that again ever.
Fair.
So I'd rather avoid the rattlesnakes. It's not my jam. I understand why people do it, and I understand that it's a safety factor, especially for people's dogs who are running a little bit more loose in my town. Because it's not just up by my house; it's down in my town. Dogs are loose every day. But
Love to say I'm
I
surprised.
I would rather just avoid them as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because that just didn't
Yep.
it wasn't comfortable for me. Let's go with that.
That's I'm so glad that you haven't had any super bad experiences because that one sounds like that would have just been like, nope, I'm done. I'm moving.
I mean, just the exposure terrifies me enough, That's plenty.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about it's now cold enough that they're all gone, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yay!
We
I can
hiked
run
this
on
morning in
trails
the
and not be
desert.
scared.
We hiked this morning in the desert, and it was like cold when we started and cool enough when we finished. I didn't have dogs because it was a super cactusy kind of thing. And like
Okay.
literally the first dog I saw was these people coming up and all of a sudden the dog screamed because it had stepped in a big clump of
Stuff.
cactus. I
Oh,
was like, I'm glad I left the girls at home. But yeah, like I would not be out on most of these trails in the heat of the summer or anything else. We go early when it's cold because I just don't want to deal with it.
that's yeah. I'm trying to
There's
come
this
up with
this is
literally
this is where
anything
my
else to
hiking,
talk
like,
about
I'm
now.
willing to sacrifice, right? Like, again, I'll go to high elevation when I'm at home in Colorado to avoid the ticks, the rattlesnakes, everything else. And if I can't go for whatever reason, I won't go at all because
Yeah,
that's sort of my defining line.
there's plenty of stuff we can do inside
Yeah,
or in a yard,
yeah.
especially with
Or
the fact
sniff
that you've
spot or whatever else, you
yeah.
know.
What is your highest trick dog title you've gotten?
I think just advanced. What is it? Novice. What's the second one?
Intermediate,
Intermediate, advanced.
advanced,
Yeah, I think it's just
elite
advanced on
performer.
probably I think that's on Sorsha. I did the problem was I did Astrid and Stanley. I tested them together, I think for novice and intermediate, but that was back in the day when you sent your paper form in and I didn't keep a copy, so I didn't know what tricks I submitted, so I couldn't figure out what to do for advanced, right? And then we had a pandemic and you could submit everything online, and so for Sorsha, I did like bam, 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 everything by video before she was so they changed the age requirement, you think, to 4 months, but they changed it after she was a puppy. So she got her first strict dog title at like 9 weeks old. And then I was like, let's teach more. So she had everything through advanced by the time she was like 5 months or 6 months.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and I should like I have the forms all filled out for Delilah, and I basically just need some like I need to do them somewhere or video them for her next 2 levels because I'm like, yeah, either I can
Mhm.
teach this or you know it already. And I just haven't done it. But we did video her trick dog novice like before she was 4 months old, and then I just had it ready to go to submit to my friend to review as soon as she was 4 months old. Um, but yeah, I know there's so much more now, and I think like I haven't really delved into like all the levels that exist, but it sounds like you can make it such a fun routine and all these other things.
Yeah, so elite performer is essentially like, okay, now go do heel work to music freestyle
Okay.
or dog dance,
I've
whatever
seen
you
some
want to
people's
call it.
beautiful videos.
Oh, they're so fun. We have
Yeah.
a lady, she has a 16-year-old terrier mix, and they're getting ready to do his elite performer. So I was
Oh,
at her house, and he was showing us all of his little tricks for it, and then the whole storylines. He's helping her with chores and everything. And
nice.
I'm just like, Harry, you're so cute.
That's awesome.
He's just like
Yeah,
this big. He's such a small dog.
that's so cute. And see the stuff I taught her in class on Tuesday, like I can use some of
Yeah,
that.
you could use a lot of that
For
actually.
sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, I haven't done more than that. Just I like I said, my older dogs, it was like, oh, I don't remember what we did, honestly. Um, Maeve might have advanced too. I honestly don't know. I should.
So, with you doing so many high impact activities, do you do conditioning?
I do, and it kind of varies on the dog and what they're doing. I didn't so much back in the old days. Of course, I don't think we even had as much of that in the old days.
No.
Okay, seriously, it was over 20 years ago. So I've had berries for 23, almost 24 years. So in
I'm
the
gonna
old
keep
days,
my
we
mouth
didn't have
shut
a whole lot.
because I like you liking me.
We had like a dog chiropractor and you did laser if your dog got injured doing agility, but like there
I
wasn't there
love
wasn't as
that.
much of that stuff, right? And now I do a bit of something with everybody. So like Maeve had to have an unplanned C-section with this litter, and so we worked a lot on like her core strength coming back from that. And just when I'm getting my dogs, kind of geared up for any sort of if we've been lazy and not done a lot, or for a stretch, like with puppies coming off of puppies, I was like, let's all get these things out and kind of work on your rear end awareness and like some strength and some core strength and this, that. And they're all, my dogs are all very food motivated and very toy motivated, but they all love to train. So trying to get
That's a
everybody sorted
perfect
to do the
combo.
things like they all want to do it at once. And so sometimes we have like three of us on a platform at once because we're all fighting to get on there. We do work on our stationing to keep everybody, some of us contained while
Mhm.
we're trying to work one. But it is a chore or locking some of us up so we can work everybody else. Um, but I've done like some Fenzi conditioning classes in the past too. Like I made great progress with Stanley when he was a senior. There was a senior dog fitness class. And I was really
Yeah.
able to work on like kind of his top line and his rear end strength and stuff in his later couple years doing one of those classes. And there's a couple other places I've, either subscribed to like a course or bits and pieces that I
Mhm.
try to pull together and use. And then so much now of even like sport foundations is bits of that also, because like Delilah's done a sports prep series, and we did a
Mhm.
lot of like sort of platform work and feet up and feet down and everything else in different ways that you're also kind of working their fitness and building them up. And I did sign up with her a few months back, for some of the materials for like a puppy conditioning course, so things that are a little more appropriate for puppies, not pushing it too hard. um, and then, like I said, like Sorsha with the running, I'm super careful. We do regular chiropractic. Mostly that's because Sorsha likes to break herself by, we don't play fetch. Sorsha doesn't play fetch because she
Mhm.
goes ass over tea kettle and like whacks herself and just carries right on. And now we have a
She
puppy who
has
likes to
no
body.
self-preservation.
Oh no. And now we have a puppy who likes to body slam everybody in the yard playing. So we had the dog chiropractor was out last week before Thanksgiving, and they weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be, honestly. But I was like, just make
That's a
sure,
win.
and then everybody's going to go rest. Like because they all think, okay, somebody's come, they've gone, time to go run in the yard, and I'm like, let's stay fixed for
Calm
like
down.
5 minutes, can we? But yeah, I own a fair bit of that equipment over time, just because it's good for training all sorts of different
Yeah.
things anyway. But it is good for their fitness, right? And like I
I
said, the core strength is so important with so many things. And after spays as well, sort of prepping for a spay, after a spay, I did the same thing for myself with mine, and it was good to have a strong core. But it's
sorry, the way you said it was absolutely amazing.
oh, I did. I went with the best abs I could, just to because I knew it
Love
was going to be tough recovery regardless.
yeah.
But so yeah, you definitely, I think you have to think about it when you've got active dogs. I mean, especially when they're idiots like mine that bounce all over the place.
I
I
have no idea what you're talking about.
I have a tile floor in here, and I'm like, you can't lift a toy above like your waist because somebody's going to jump for it and then try to land like a moron, like flipping onto their back or something. I'm like, okay, we can't do that. Oh my god. Yeah.
As a way to keep track of time before we got on here, and that was like starting on food prep, I just did a quick TikTok live of just playing the dog board game.
Mhm.
The amount of times that Aslan got off of his place and I had to fix the rug because he's so excited all the time to do all the things. But he just like skids around and throws himself around. I'm just like, bud, please, half a brain cell, please.
I forgot to feed the puppy lunch till like an hour or two after her usual time today. So she was super hyped up. And Astrid, anytime you feed anybody, Astrid thinks she's going to get food. I have
Of
a runner
course.
rug on the hallway back to the dog room because the dogs sprint. Astrid went flying down the hallway, slid out, was suddenly like on the ground, sliding down the side next to the rug, and then like bounced back up and ran in the room. And I'm like, you're 11 and a half. Can we just not, please? Like, no clue she shouldn't be doing that.
Oh god.
And I mean, that's still like middle aged for a beardy, but seriously, like, can we just not? Like, can we not break ourselves, you guys?
Merle Scooby Doo's. So I was able to find matching rugs this time and got one in
Mhm.
the kitchen. And he will just Scooby Doo
Oh,
up.
God.
Like he slows down now because he sees the rug and he knows he'll get a bit of traction. But before that, he would freeze in midair and his legs were doing this, and you just like had hit that point of skid where it did no good. So you like skid into the trash can, and I'm just like,
Please, please don't.
what? Why? You know that you're gonna go outside. You could walk calmly.
I had to put, I think 2 years ago, I had to put insulation, like pipe insulation, basically like pool noodles,
Mm-hmm.
um, on the doorway of the wire crate because Astrid twice. I was like, why is there a bloody spot on top of your head? She hit it so hard going in for her meal. She hit the roof of the like doorway, and I'm like, you're trying to scalp yourself for food. So yeah, she has an insulated doorway, so she hits the padding instead with the top of her head. Like I said, they're not good on
Oh,
behavior at all.
oh. And this is like as she's an older dog.
Yeah, yeah.
Not puppy Astrid. This is
No, like
Astrid
nine,
now.
10 years old, Astrid was still. I mean, mealtime is very exciting. And yes, it's a dead
Oh,
sprint to the crates. So I did. Maeve is the only one. Maeve sits and waits in the crate and just yells at everybody as they come running in the room. And I know what that goes back to because
that's amazing.
when she was a puppy, and now I think her kid is sort of doing it, but when she was a puppy, she would bite at Astrid while Astrid ran to the crate for food. And she was like, "This is great. She's running." Like she'd bite at her, and I'm like, "Okay, I have to like probably get a handle on this." And I did Loretta Mueller's multi-dog mayhem course on Fenzi. And you sort of it's multi-dog management in a
Hmm.
household, but you're sort of picking who your project child is. And it was Maeve as a puppy, a little younger than Delilah's age. Because I was like, yeah, I usually, if I know I'm getting a puppy, I train my adults like, let's do a little refresher work so everybody remembers because you guys are going to be the good examples. And Maeve was doing things like biting an Astrid as she was super excited. So now Maeve goes and waits in the crate, which is great. And I wish everybody would do that. But she does have to, absolutely yell about it as they all come sprinting
Oh,
into the
yeah.
room. But instead of biting and barking, she's just barking in the crate out of everybody's way. So
That's a win.
it's management. It's fine. It works.
Aslan, he's like somehow the middle of both of that. So
Mhm.
he hasn't quite figured out in the mornings because he likes to work for his food in the morning. So we do morning and night training, which I'm enjoying.
Mhm.
But he hasn't quite figured out that the other two, they don't like to drink. So I soak their food for the mornings. So he just hops in the crate and waits there for like 20 minutes, just standing there at attention,
Oh,
like, where's my food?
are
Where's
we
the food?
doing it
Where's
yet?
the food? Are we? I'm like, you're such a cattle dog. It's ridiculous.
But that's so sweet, though. I
It's
mean,
so cute. I'm gonna have
yeah,
to get a picture of it to send you because it's absolutely ridiculous. But he's just like, are we doing the thing? It's time to do
right,
the thing.
right. Well, and Astrid in her old age is so sure she has to control while I'm prepping the meals that everyone else like walks this fine line around the periphery of the kitchen because if you get too close, she's like, uh-uh. And yes, I know, like I can train that too, but
Eh,
she's
it's kind
she's
of
an old
helpful.
lady, she's set in her ways, and if she wants to just snark at everybody if they get too close while I'm making the bowls, it's fine because then I don't have everybody all over me while I'm making the bowls. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, they're all like ducking and dodging while Maeve is in the back room by herself. The younger
Yelling.
two are like her child. Sorsha is smart. Astrid's kid knows her mother quite well at this point, so she just hangs under the kitchen table and like watches. But the puppy still thinks like she can get in the middle of everything a lot. And so she and Astrid are just constantly like back and forth. And Astrid will bark at her, and then she's like, "I'll bark back." They really are so much
They are
alike.
the same.
We're so much alike. It cracks me up. But
Oh, it's
Astrid
great.
loves her because
Oh,
Delilah doesn't take her
care.
shit. I mean, Astrid loves her. And yeah, they hence the barking battles sometimes and everything else. Like, and Astrid thinks it's hilarious, but Astrid will grab a toy and bark, 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 and be shoving it in her face and be like, "Why aren't you tugging or playing with me?" Um, and that's the only one she initiates play with. So it's also kind of fun to see my almost 12-year-old, sorry about that,
You're good.
my almost 12-year-old
That's so
super
cute.
playful.
Just like, child, come on, let's go. Figure
Yeah,
it out.
yeah, yeah. And of course, initially, Auntie Astrid is so loud and deep barked that, the puppy's like, I don't know about that. And now she's like, okay, let's jump in everybody's faces. She does this thing right now where she just boings over their backs, like just they have legs like Springs Beardies anyway. But so like they'll be playing or
Yeah,
whatever, so walking around the yard or anything, and she's next to one of them, and she's just suddenly boing over their back on the other side. And so she loves to do that to Astrid too. This is
your
why
girls are so tolerant.
people they are. I don't know how Sorsha still has a coat because she hangs off of it and everything else. She got a mouthful of her mother's hair today playing fetch. They are really good about it, though. I mean, you like to think that puppy license to some degree expires, and she's also just matured a little bit, so it's not as bad as it was by any means. But um, definitely, they let her get away with a fair bit. They're like,
Oh,
oh,
definitely.
it's not worth that's not worth it.
I love watching older dogs decide what they're going to let a younger dog get away with.
Yeah. Well, and I would rather have it like this, where Astrid is voluntarily choosing to engage her.
Oh, yeah.
Stanley hit a point, I mean, Stanley lived to like 16 plus, but the last litter I had, he was, let's say, 15. I really didn't have him around the puppies because he just didn't need puppies underfoot and were trying to nurse
Yeah.
off him or something else, like, if he was a little less steady. But I kept Sorsha, and so he was, oh my gosh, Sorsha was born in 2020. So Stanley was 13 when I kept Sorsha, and she was madly in love with him, just adored him
Oh.
completely. And he was like, I want nothing to do with it. And we're like, just keep telling her off. And he would tell her off. And I was like, she'll grow out of it. She'll grow out of it. She never grew
Never.
out of it. So Stanley's whole rest of his life was
Oh.
this little puppy in his face going like, just I love you so much, Uncle Stanley. I
Love
like
me
to
back.
think he felt flattered that there was still a girl like completely in love with him, but um, she never outgrew that just sort of
Oh,
sycophantic adoration of him. So I'm happy
that's so
Delilah's not that
sweet.
bad.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I know they
Oh,
don't they don't, need other dogs. I was walking them at night for a while here because I couldn't get everybody to potty at the same time to go to bed. And you get people on the walking path who just randomly start talking to you in the dark. And this guy go, "Can I pet your dogs?" And I'm in the middle of trying to pick up a poop, and the puppy's like pulling one way. I have 4 dogs on a leash, and I'm like, "Well, I guess you're already petting them, right?" And he goes, "Why do you have 4?" I'm like, "Oh God." My husband wants to know the same thing. Why do you have 4? And I was like, well, it just sort of happened that way. I like, what do you say to that? Right? He goes, are they just like, do they really need a pack to be happy? They can't be alone. And I was like, no, no, these dogs would all be happy alone, but it is what it is. Um, I was like,
but
no,
I want more of them.
they're spaced out. Yeah, I mean, they're also spaced out over the years, and there's reasons
Yeah.
why. Like I really did want something from Maeve, and I'm not going to breed Maeve again. So this was kind of my last shot at that, and I'm not going to breed Sorsha. So, it's going to be a while before I do anything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Astrid's getting older, and I'm going to lose Astrid at some point. And Maeve and Sorsha are pretty close in age, so they've got a long time still, hopefully. But it just, it just happened that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's such an odd question to ask somebody.
Especially a dog, like a real dog person, like, why do you have 4? Oh God, I don't know. They just all showed up at my door one day. I don't know.
Yeah, just
Um,
4 of the same breed showed up.
it's
Of
also,
different ages.
it's also a little awkward sometimes, with the society we live in, depending on what people ask. Like, I don't always say that I bred some of them. I don't
Right?
always admit to being a dog breeder, right? Like some random lady petting the puppy at the mall who goes, "Oh, did you have to ship her in from really far away?" And I was like, "No, she's from my state." Like I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't really
Easiest
want
shipping costs.
don't really want to get into that.
No.
Well, especially
Yeah, I
because
can't
there's a
blame you
lot of
one
down
bit.
here. Like there's a lot of
Adopt on shop.
yeah, yeah, or maybe more designer dog stuff too, depending
Mm.
on the neighborhood or
I
whatever.
live in Missouri. I understand that.
Okay, yeah. But it is funny taking them out just because I've got this puppy, I've got the 2 in full coat, and then I've got Astrid, and so
Who
people
shaved?
are like, "Are they the same breed?" They are. This is just a trim senior. This is a puppy in puppy coat. Or I take the puppy and I take Astrid, and they're like, "Oh, they're sheepadoodles." Um, I get sheepadoodle a lot, actually.
I
Or
imagine
I get the other one I've gotten a lot, and it's weird because it's people who have owned English sheepdogs,
Mhm.
like, go, "Oh my gosh, their coats look amazing. How do you get them to be like that? I have ones, and I don't get this like that." And I was like, "Well, I brush them this often and whatever." And they go, "Are they minis? Because they look small." And I'm like, "Wait, wait, wait. What breed did you say you have?" Oh, I have Old English. Isn't that what these are? No, they're not. Because people don't know what beardies are. And so it's great. I get to
No.
educate on the breed and it's fine. But it is with this many of them, or with any subset of them out in public, I definitely get a good number of questions of any variety about what they are and why I have them.
I was gonna
Are
say
they
we
all
hadn't even.
yours? That's a big one. Are they all yours? Yes, they are.
I'm just waiting to start getting that question now that I've got three.
Depends
Especially
on
because
how
like
well behaved they're acting at the moment, whether I'm happy about saying that or not.
what is keeping you with bearded collies? Obviously you fell for the breed. Like what was it?
I did, and I mean, I think in general they fit my. I mean, I like to say they fit my lifestyle, even though I landed into them rather accidentally. And I don't think. I mean, I don't think even the people that I got my first dog from necessarily thought I was going to be this much of a crazy person in the end. I mean, everybody's super proud. They're the ones that got me started, but um, I don't think there weren't high expectations, right? Yeah, sure. I said I'd
Right.
show the dog. People do that. And I said I'd like to do agility. So maybe I was going to dabble. Certainly nobody I thought I was going to end up with
Going
a bunch of
full
them and
dog.
breeding and girls or anything else, or, even finishing a championship, let's just say. But um, I do think they fit my life. Also, I have at this point fit my life to them.
Mhm.
Grooming is not a big deal to me. And I look at other breeds, that have coats, and it sounds like they're more complicated. It sounds like poodle care is far more complicated because people see my dogs run around in the rain and get wet, and they go, "Oh my God, you're going to have to groom and blow dry." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. They're going to dry. The mud's going to fall off, and everything's going to be perfect again." Like that doesn't make them matte. Like it's a big
I'm
difference.
jealous.
As long as they get regular care, they can go swim and everything else, and they're fine. Like I might brush them out after they dry, but there's also no need to blow dry. So, that's a biggie. Like I mostly air dry, depending on the weather. So, to some extent, like I'm in a grooming routine. The grooming stuff is
Mhm.
easy, but they're happy. They're eager to go on all the adventures. And I know there's other breeds that are like that too. I love the size. I love the size of the girls, especially. I started in boys. And so once I got into girls, I was like, okay, I'm getting a little older. Not that much, but still, like the size is great for me. Like it's so
Yeah.
manageable. They're easy to pick up. They're easy to, honestly, like puppies being bad, pick her up under one arm and carry her away. Like I can just solve that problem. Um, so I do think, like, we kind of fit each other's lives. And I was so painfully shy, so painfully shy, like terrified of talking to strangers, couldn't do a lot. When I got my first dog, and Beardies definitely,
They're very
um,
social.
Beardies are very social. And after a point, it's very difficult to be embarrassed because they've done it for you. My first breeder with my first dog, when I went to show for the first time, said, "Don't worry. Anything that happens to you has happened before. His grandfather bit me in the
I
butt in the
love that.
ring. If he humps you in the ring, my first dog used to hump me ringside before we walked in. It was like his stress mediation. They're kind of a humpy breed. It was his stress mediation strategy, right? And then he would walk in and show great. Waiting to go in the agility ring. And again, back in the day, we didn't have all of the okay, it didn't feel like we had all the training we do now as far as kind of reducing arousal and everything else. So they're like
Mhm.
super excited to go. And there's a fast border collie running in front of him, and he's like, yeah. He would sit and hump me ringside right before we walked in for his turn because he kept his attention on me. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. It's fine. Like this is my life. Um,
It's
but
fine.
they definitely like have made it a lot easier for me to be a generally normal social human or pass as one. Um, because they're just these happy outgoing dogs, and they really, there's things that other breeds are more sensitive about, and so herding breeds in general might be more sound sensitive, and that does run in a lot of the breed as well. So I'm not saying there isn't stuff, but um, a lot of the sensitivities maybe that you see in other breeds or struggles with certain things, beardies are just like, life is a party and everyone is my friend. So you're struggling sometimes with the very over exuberance of everybody is my friend, but that's a lot easier. Everybody is my friend. Other dogs, cats, other
Yeah.
animals, people. It takes away a lot of the stress about taking your dog out and doing things and living life when they're just going to be like, this is great, to most things. And so I think we're a good fit, I guess, in that sense. And also because um, on the rarer side these days in the sense that we really need to be out there, convincing people to get them or breed them. I don't want to give up on that hope just yet. Um, if like everything I have left doesn't pass health testing and I become utterly depressed, maybe I'll go, okay, what other breed needs me? But right now, this is kind of the best. There's there's times absolutely on TikTok, especially I watch some other people's breeds and I'm like, maybe someday, there's a couple of people with
Yeah,
chihuahuas, and I'm like, those look amazing, but you would get squished in my
not right
house.
now.
But not right now. But like maybe someday, that's like something I would delve into. But right now, I feel like all of us are all hands on deck trying to kind of keep the breed afloat and going. I mean, numbers are down, not just here, but like in the UK, they're a vulnerable breed, and we're getting more science, we're getting the genetic testing, which helps us with diversity choices and that kind of thing, and we've been the breed club's been actively supporting research on autoimmune disease and all of that kind of thing so that we can reduce some of that. Again, it comes down to like just our small gene pool being resuscitated after World War II. But whatever we can do, I feel like there's still hope of trying to do it, and I don't want to give up on that hope either. So there's a little bit of that like bigger purpose, but also I think they're super fun and they're freaking cute. And there's something fun about taking a whole herd of shaggy dogs out in public and being like, yes, this is my life, actually.
I love that.
Plus,
Okay,
they're
you
so
just
good
said
at they're so good at trying all the sports, and that's super fun for me too. Is having dogs that are just up for anything.
oh yeah. Okay, you just mentioned something I've never heard of before. What happened with Beardies in World War II?
So, with a lot of breeds, nobody was breeding them during World War II, right? Because they were, especially I think in the UK, but I think some of Europe was hit with some of this in also because I've heard this with other kind of European breeds in that the numbers were really decimated because breeding didn't happen. Food was in short supply, people were fighting a war, whatever
Oh,
else, and so um, Beardies. We can't actually say where Beardies started, but there were always these kind of shaggy dogs in the Highlands and the Lowlands in Scotland. They're in historical pictures and stuff going
yeah,
forever back. Um, and then after World War II, this, I'm going to say she's in Scotland, but I'm not really sure. This particular lady sent mail ordered for a Sheltie and accidentally got sent a Beardy puppy instead and was like, what is this? And then mail ordered another one and bred them together. And, so they kind of were pulling what was left and kind of restarted the breed in an actual formal sense. I think they had been in shows a little bit before World War II in a tiny way in the way that shows
oh,
existed then, but not a
right.
lot. It was really, we're talking about a very small number of founding dogs of the modern version of the breed. And we still have there are still some working lines in mostly in the UK. They're a little mixed here and there with border collies, but probably the originals were too to some extent. But there's various shaggy working beardies. And I still think that's an untapped area for us because they're not pedigree registered.
Right.
There are ways to do that. Like I know someone there are certain countries that allow you to kind of show them and kind of test in. And like I
Hmm.
know I know one that was done like that in Germany, and then people have bred to that dog. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
fascinating.
there's somebody who has like spectacular agility working beardies, and they, I believe, won't export to the U.S., which is probably understandable. But
I get it, but also
there's
I'm
some,
sad.
but there's some like great lines that not everybody wants to go that route. Let's go with that in the way of these various outcross projects and stuff. But it's certainly something that I think is an intriguing possibility if we hit an absolute end stage bottleneck. Like there's other populations out there, and figuring out now that we have more genetic testing and even across different countries with within
Yeah,
the registered dogs, figuring out different ways to combine things to make to improve our situation in that sense, or try to reduce disease rates or something. Like I'm excited about the possibility and just seeing like where we've gone in my time in the breed with that.
yeah. God, science is cool.
Yeah. Like, you can tell, I mean, I'm a scientist anyway, so like I dig that stuff. I think it's exciting to see how we can improve health in our dog breeds and stuff, because so
Yeah,
much of the research, most of the research, I'm going to say, on a lot of these things has really been funded or started by the breed clubs.
yeah.
Nobody was going to look at like the rates of certain relatively obscure autoimmune diseases unless those breed clubs really pony up to support it.
So how then would you say if someone was looking, or like if they've heard of this and they're like, okay, maybe Beardies are maybe they're my heart breed. Like I want
Mhm.
to try one out. How would they go about finding a good breeder? I mean, obviously you, but it doesn't sound like you're going to be breeding anytime soon.
I got a while. The kid's got to grow up. So there's a national breed club, and they do litter listing and breeder listing. Um, And so you get the people that are members of the club and have signed the code of ethics and everything. So that's certainly like a base good starting point. I do think it helps to go meet a lot of them. Not that I did it. Do as I say, not as I do. But it helps to go meet a lot of them and get to meet a lot of the breeders too, right? And so um, if there's a chance to attend a specialty, and so we have like a few on the West Coast, a few on the East Coast, and wherever the national is held, like I know that's a lot of work for people to get to, depending on where they live. But getting to go and meet like dozens or a huge entry of them and see them at all different ages and talk to like a lot of different owners and breeders and learn about kind of the range of what they're like or the range of what different lines are like, I think is the for a more educated buyer, which I wasn't at the time. I mean, I was even looking at like Yahoo ads, but I ended up thankfully going through the breeder referral of my local club. Um, so I did okay, even though I didn't know what I was
Hey,
doing in 2002. Um, but I think that's the best way to kind of get to know more of them, get to see what the coat's like at different ages, like get to see the hands-on of like how grooming is done. That's if you can do the all-inclusive experience, that's kind of it to get to meet a lot of people. And I would say most of us, not everybody, but most of us make a huge effort to get to our national. No more, people will drive across the country to try to go to the national. Um,
that's so cool.
I would say those of us west of the Mississippi did not go this year. And but in general, people really try to gather as much as possible. And that's just a good way, I think, with any breed to really delve in, and also gives you a little sense of what the culture and the people are like. And in
Oh,
general,
that's
I
a good
think
point.
I think in general, beardy people are very welcoming and very eager to like sell people on their breed, even though, you know, like there was there was a beardy in the remake of the Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen some years back. And so the breed club came out with a huge educational thing about, yeah, you thought that dog looked cute, but here's what you need to know. So even though like you ask an average dog person, I think, about their breed, like the breed enthusiast anyway, and they're like, well, they're bad at this is bad, and grooming is hard and whatever. um, we're still really eager as a breed community,
Yeah.
beardies anyway, to like sell you on this breed and how great they are. And if we don't know, like we don't have something, we're going to try and figure out how to help you find something. And like I have a good friend that's kind of been waiting for like his perfect future girl, and I'm like, we're going to find you something. We're going to figure it out. But it's got to be the right thing for you because I know what you want. But this year was a baby boom. Like I was definitely having a litter in
Oh,
like we had a huge baby boom, which is great. We had a lot. And I don't know, people don't advertise their plans so much in advance. I know different breed communities are also different on that. And I think people are really, people get really down about missed breedings, obviously, and it can be hit or miss with this breed in that sense, because we have distance, because we're not driving to like the next place over to just breed live cover to something, because we're so spread out. There are increased chances of missing on a lot of your breedings, and so people are very sensitive about that. Like I know it's heartbreaking when it happens, and they're done that too many times. Um, so you don't always know in advance, but I'm hoping this next year will be another good year for us because we really do need the numbers.
so what is number wise? What is considered like an endangered breed? Or you used a few specific terms, I
I
think.
don't know. I know, so UK vulnerable breeds, I'm not sure what the registration number, like what the number has to be, but I know that it's way, way, way down in the last few years over like historic numbers. There used to be huge entries for beardies in the UK
Mhm.
and huge numbers of litters. And so the other problem is obviously our population is aging. This is a common dog fanciers thing, right? Our population is aging. It's harder for people to keep, people don't keep dogs in the numbers that they used to, but it's also harder to keep dogs that are maintenance work and breed litters, as your body is beginning to fail on that a little bit. Um, and I don't
Didn't think
don't
about
know
that.
I don't know what the numbers in the US are either, but I know that again, our registrations are down dramatically over 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like when I know basically every litter that's happened in the country for the year,
Okay, yeah.
like, we all know each other. So when I know basically everybody who had puppies, and I'm telling you, it's a good year and it's still probably nothing compared to what it was a decade or two ago. Um, it's just, we have to have enough to sustain the breed, but also we need people keeping boys, right? I think that's a common theme with other breeds too, is that we have to have boy options, and stud dog shopping is always miserable because you're like, every boy went to a pet home.
Oh,
Right? Like, because a breeder wanted to keep a girl or something. And I don't have a problem with if the pedigree is a match, if the temperament is great, if health testing is passed, and I'm confident on the structure of the dog. Like, I don't have a problem breeding to somebody's pet necessarily. We'll call it a pet, but like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? There's people that'll breed like a dog will go do agility and that's it. And somebody will breed it. And again, if it's got the right things, if it's the right match for what I have, I don't need it to be a grand champion or something else. And we all learn when we're in this world. And I'm sure, I know in my early years in dog shows, I was like, oh my God, they bred a dog that wasn't a champion. No judgment on that now. I was an idiot. I would say that because there's so much more to it. And we can't, our show entries are down a lot. It's hard to find the points. It's hard to gather the people and get everybody in the same place. We're so spread out across the country. I have to go over 1,200 miles in one direction or another to get to a specialty because there's nothing in the middle. Um, and so, and we can't afford to be that picky basically, but like if there's the right dog and it's a nice dog, like I'm happy to look at it, but you have to know that they exist too. So
Yeah.
we've done various things over the years. We had for a while created like a stud dog group on Facebook where people could put dogs up and their info and their health testing and stuff. And that kind of died off a little bit. AKC has initiatives of like donating semen. Again, it'd be love. Like, could we have registries to know what people have that's frozen from like old stuff? That would be amazing.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
Um,
cool.
because nobody knows what everybody has. Like I have old frozen, other people have old frozen, but I don't think everybody talks about.
I was gonna
Um,
say because weren't you able to collect some from Stanley?
I have frozen Stanley, but I also have frozen Max because Stanley
Oh,
sired a few litters. But I have frozen from my first dog that I would like to use someday.
that's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
I
yeah.
vaguely remember you making a TikTok about that a long time
I
ago.
never I never even thought about breeding him because like I kind of showed him I finished his championship. I was like, you're not the kind of dog that I'm gonna put on a handler and special. They're all like kind of bigger and bigger coats and whatever else at the time period, and they probably still are, but we wanted to go do agility. But I mean the dog lived to almost 16, healthy as can be the entire
That's
time,
amazing.
outlived all of his counterparts of those days by years and years. you know, I was like, I collected him once because we were like, well, what if the dog gets hit by a bus
May as
tomorrow? Like,
well.
you should have something saved, right? And then I didn't think about it, and I never thought about collecting him more. Thankfully, he gave me a spectacular collection, so I have multiple breeding units if I ever want to use them. But yeah, but nobody
So
talks about what they have, so you don't know what else is
so
out there.
this is a question that I'm going to ask, and I obviously this is not the part of the dog world I am very knowledgeable in. Who stores the collections?
Canine semen banks have
Okay,
have freezer
I,
units and do it.
there
Yeah,
was a very split
yeah.
second I thought that you guys did this at your houses,
Oh
like
God,
you
no,
kept
no,
all
not
of
for
it at home. I'm
frozen.
like, oh my god, what happens if the power goes out?
There are, I think, no, because it's like in liquid nitrogen kind of thing.
Oh,
It's
okay,
like
cool.
it's like deep frozen. These facilities are like super controlled, and yeah,
That's really neat.
I think where I have Stanley stored was they had a wildfire near there a year or two ago, and they were like, "We are ready if we have to evacuate the tanks," kind of thing. Yeah, every so often, like there's some sort of a loss at one of these places, but for the most part, it's really well controlled, and they're the same
That's
ones
so
that do the collections. And some of them can do like a mobile thing at shows,
mhm.
or they just have actual physical locations. But
That's super cool.
yeah, Yeah, so I have like one dog in Oregon and one dog in California, just because it was the Oregon people doing the dog show that weekend, I think. But
It's
um,
amazing.
I know. It's so weird. It's like such a weird thing. Like the first time seeing it, it's all very strange, and then you just get used to it, and you're like, whatever. There's nothing clean and tidy about dog
Oh,
breeding.
absolutely not.
Maeve's in flaming season right now. She was supposed to have a spay appointment in a few weeks, and she decided to just do this instead.
Come to
So
heat one more time.
it'll be a few months, but I'm like, there's nothing clean and tidy about any of this.
My childhood basset, we didn't have her spayed till she was 8, and I remember just like following her around with the cleaning supplies and just cleaning up after her cycle. I'm like, what?
The
Why?
upside of multiple girls is they help with that. Again, it's gross.
That's amazing.
It's dogs. It's a
We
whole nother
just,
world.
it really is. And it's fascinating because it's like,
And
I
mostly
always,
my girls keep themselves tidy, so it's not actually that bad. But
well, so, and I was used to like what Lowrider had. And so when we were waiting for Dolly for her joints to settle before we spayed her, and so I'm like keeping an eye out when she turned about 6 months old. I'm like, all right, when's it going to happen?
right.
One single dot of blood, all we ever found. Turns out she
Mhm.
had silent heats.
Okay.
That's how I learned what that term was. Because I
Yeah.
was like,
Well, and they don't all come in at 6 months. Like I know it's so weird every
it
time.
was at like eight
It's weird
months
because I've had
too.
to actually educate vets on this, because, like, they don't all come in every 6 months, and they don't all come in at 6 months, and so you have to kinda know your lines and what they do, right? So, I think Astrid came in at 10 months, and then she was roughly an every 10 or 11-month girl.
Wow.
Maeve comes from lines where they cycle once a year. There's a lot of lines where they cycle once a year. Um,
Whoa. Didn't
Maeve
know that was a
was a
thing.
little bit more. Sorsha did not come into season until 18 months. She had her first heat at 18 months. I thought it was
Wow.
never going to happen, but we were so busy with life, well, a pandemic and then life, that I just didn't pay it. It was like, it's fine, it'll come when it comes. And I didn't think about it. She came into season at her first national. Um,
Of course she did.
yeah. So, yeah, Delilah's turning 7 months old this week. And I'm like, well, this is about the age your mom came in, and your mom is in right now. So that might pull you along, which I think is part of why she's having like lots of feelings right now about certain things. Um,
Understandable.
but like, no way to know till it happens. And then, it's why I keep detailed records, because I'm like, there's no way I would know what
You're
their
not going to
intervals are
remember
like
that.
until I watch them for a while. Um,
That's crazy.
yeah. And Sorsha has been an every 18-month girl after that 18 months. So she was 18 months and then
Okay.
3. So they all do their own thing for sure.
I've never heard of a dog waiting that long to go into heat.
I think I have with some of our sighthound friends.
Okay.
I think like some of the folks we know, maybe with like Salukis or whatnot, have talked about that
Hmm.
they take like a while longer, over a year, and then they might cycle like more like that
Fascinating.
every year, a bit longer thing too. But yeah, I mean, with Sorsha, I figured she was always so fit, so lean that like it took a while
I
for her
wondered
body to
if keeping
bother.
them lean would, because like obviously with humans that's a
You would
thing.
you would think so, but look at the junkyard dogs that are starved and go into season and have like
Yeah,
12 puppies. We always
fair.
joke like here we are working so hard to thoughtfully create these litters, and like you're lucky it worked. You feel lucky it worked anyway. And meanwhile, somebody's like dog in an alley has like 12 puppies on like eating out of a dumpster or something, starved,
It's just like how.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sad and frustrating and also hilarious.
Yeah. No, I mean, what are you going to do except laugh? But yeah, of course, like you put so much into it, and that's why it's like if it doesn't work, it's so
It's
heartbreaking, because
heartbreaking.
you've invested so much time, energy, money, everything into it. And I know, like, when I've had misses, they've been after my dogs already had a litter. My girls have always taken on the first try. So then it's an extra kick in the pants when it doesn't happen the next time, because you're like, I already knew this dog was fertile, right?
Yeah,
But there's, timing, there's
goodness.
semen quality, there's
There's so
everything.
much.
Yeah. And sometimes I think things just aren't meant to be. But like one of my misses with Astrid is the reason I have Maeve. So everything works out for a reason, I
Right.
think.
All right. Well, Molly, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you had half as much fun as I did.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
And
Thank you for inviting me.
of course, I have no idea when this is going out.
No
So I
worries.
can't even give you the beginning of a timeline.
No worries.
But thank you so much. And we will talk to you on TikTok, I guess.
Okay,
Oh, is
awesome.
there anything you want to plug that you've got coming up?
Uh, Absolutely not. Survival.
Totally fair.
I'm surviving with 4 dogs right now, okay? I'm going on a business trip for 1 day this week, and it's gonna kill me.
You can
Um,
do it.
I know. I'm literally taking a red eye, so I'm away from my dogs less time,
Wow.
and it's gonna be cold, crappy weather, so yay me. No, I'm just in survival mode with dogs, trying to get through the holidays and train this puppy, and, everybody gets to hear about it because I apparently blab now, so a lot.
I like it.
I like our online life where we can blab about these things to people so that our, real life family doesn't have to hear about it.
I think it helps.
Yeah, it's my therapy. Let's go with that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have an awesome night, and we will talk later.